Chris, open the door for me. I want to sit in the front.
Yes, Mom.
Good. Your wife should always sit at the back.
The way silence settled into the car like something unspoken, but deeply understood. Drive, his mother said. Just one word. Flat. Final. Chris started the car. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Just the sound of the engine and the quiet breathing of a woman in the back seat who was slowly beginning to feel like a stranger in her own marriage. Cynthia shifted again, carefully. Her back pressed against the seat as a slight discomfort ran through her body. The pregnancy had not been easy. Her feet were swollen. Her back constantly ached. And sitting in the back seat like this, alone, while her husband and his mother sat comfortably in front, it wasn't just physical pain anymore. It was something deeper, something she had been trying not to name. Chris adjusted the mirror. For a brief second, their eyes met. Him in the front, her in the back. There was something in her eyes.
Chris,
Just
you're driving too
a
slowly.
Quiet question.
Do you want us to spend the whole day on the road?
And just as quickly, he looked away.
I'm sorry, Mom, he replied quickly. Too quickly. Cynthia closed her eyes for a second. That word again, Mom. Always first. The car picked up speed, but inside that vehicle, something else was slowing down. Cynthia remembered the first time she had noticed it. It wasn't loud. It wasn't obvious. It was subtle. Small things. Little moments.
Mom,
like the time she
how
had
do you
cooked for
usually
him
make
after a
your
long
stew?
day, and he took one bite, then picked up his phone and called his mother. Mom, how do you usually make your stew? This one tastes different. She had laughed it off that day, told herself it was nothing. But now, sitting in the back seat of her husband's car, carrying his child, while another woman sat beside him like she was the priority, it didn't feel like nothing anymore.
This is
It felt
exactly
like
what
a
I was
pattern.
talking about.
The car
Nobody
suddenly
ever
slowed down.
listens to me.
Traffic. Chris sighed lightly. His mother clicked her tongue in irritation. This is why I told you we should have left earlier. Cynthia opened her eyes again. She looked outside the window, then slowly back at them. And for the first time, a thought crossed her mind that she had been avoiding for months. Was she really his wife? Or just someone temporarily occupying a space his mother had not approved of? She adjusted her dress slightly over her stomach. The baby moved, a small kick. And this time, she didn't smile, because something inside her was beginning to shift, quietly, slowly, but permanently. The traffic refused to move. Cars lined up endlessly, horns blaring in impatience. But inside Chris's car, the silence was louder than the noise outside. His mother adjusted herself in the seat, then turned slightly toward him. Did you call the doctor, like I told you? Chris tightened his grip on the steering wheel. I was going to. You were going to, she cut in sharply. Chris, this is not how things are done. A child is coming. There are steps. There are traditions. Cynthia slowly lifted her eyes. Traditions. That word again. His mother continued, her voice calm but controlling. I have already spoken to someone at the hospital. A proper one. Not these small clinics you people go to nowadays. You people. The words didn't land loudly, but they landed. Chris nodded. Okay, Mom, I'll check it. From the back seat, Cynthia spoke for the first time. Soft, careful. But my doctor already said everything is fine. The car went quiet. Not normal quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you wish you hadn't spoken. Chris didn't turn. He didn't say anything. His mother turned slowly, very slowly, until she was facing the back seat, facing Cynthia.
"My dear," she said, her voice now coated with something that sounded like kindness but felt like control. "Experience is not something you argue with." "I'm not arguing. You just what?" the older woman interrupted gently. "You just think you know better." Cynthia shook her head quickly. "No, Then listen." That was it. One word. Heavy. Final. Chris shifted slightly in his seat. His fingers tapped lightly against the steering wheel. A habit, one Cynthia had come to recognize. It meant he was uncomfortable, but not enough to speak. Outside, a man crossed the road between the cars. A hawker knocked on the window, offering bottled water. Chris waved him off. Inside the car, the real transaction was happening. Control, silence, submission. Cynthia looked down at her stomach again. Her hand rested there instinctively. The baby moved slightly. Another kick. This time, she whispered softly, almost unconsciously, "It's okay." His mother heard it. Of course she did. She smiled faintly, then turned back to the front. "You need to start learning how to speak less and observe more," she said calmly. "Marriage is not a place for too much opinion." Cynthia's fingers tightened slightly over her dress. Chris finally spoke. "Mom, she's trying too much," his mother replied immediately. Silence. Again. Cynthia leaned back slowly, her eyes fixed on the back of Chris's seat. He had started to defend her, but didn't finish, and somehow that hurt more than if he had said nothing at all. The traffic began to move again, slowly, gradually. Chris pressed the accelerator. His mother relaxed back into her seat like everything had returned to order. But in the back seat, something had changed. Cynthia wasn't looking outside anymore. Her mind drifted back again to another moment, another day, the day she told Chris she was pregnant. She had been nervous, excited, scared. He had hugged her tightly, lifted her slightly off the ground. "You're serious?" he had asked, smiling like a child. She nodded, laughing, "Yes." And for a moment, just one moment, she had believed everything was going to be okay, until the next thing he said, "We have to tell my mom." The car turned into a quieter street. His mother suddenly spoke again. "Chris?" "Yes, Mom." "When the baby is born, I will stay with you people for a while." Cynthia's head lifted instantly. His mother continued like it was already decided. "The child must be raised properly. I cannot trust everything to chance." Chance. Cynthia looked at Chris, waiting, hoping. This time, he hesitated. A longer pause. Then he said, "Okay, Mom." That was it. She looked away because something inside her had just become very clear. She wasn't fighting for space in her marriage anymore. She was competing. And the worst part, she was losing. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and anxiety. Bright white lights, cold air, and the quiet tension of people waiting for something they couldn't control. Cynthia sat carefully on the edge of the hospital bed. Her hands rested on her stomach, still, protective. A nurse had just left after checking her vitals. "Everything looks good," she had said, with a reassuring smile. Cynthia nodded. But she didn't feel reassured, because this wasn't about the baby anymore. The door opened. Chris walked in first, then his mother, of course. His mother didn't wait. She walked in like she belonged there, like the room had been prepared for her. "Why is she sitting like that?"
she asked
Chris
immediately,
rubbed the back of
scanning
his
Cynthia
neck.
from head to
Mom,
toe.
the doctor already?
Cynthia blinked.
The doctor?
She repeated,
with a slight
His
scoff.
mother turned to Chris.
Which doctor?
Did you not tell them how
Cynthia's
things should be
fingers
done?
tightened slightly. The one I've been seeing, she said softly. His mother's eyes moved slowly to her. My dear, pregnancy is not a trial and error situation. The words were calm, but they cut. Cynthia inhaled slowly. I've been following all my appointments. And who approved that doctor? His mother interrupted. Silence. Chris shifted again. Mom, he started, but she raised her hand slightly. Not aggressively, just enough. And he stopped. The nurse returned. Excuse me, we'll need to take her for a quick scan. Cynthia nodded and carefully stood up. Her body felt heavier than usual, not just physically. As she moved past them, his mother spoke again. Make sure they do it properly this time. Cynthia paused, just for a second. Then she continued walking. The scan room was quieter, darker. She lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling as the machine hummed softly. Relax, the nurse said gently. Cynthia tried. She really did. But her mind wouldn't stop. The image of that car, the front seat, the silence, the way Chris never finished his sentences when it came to her. And now, this. Would you like your husband inside? The nurse asked. Cynthia hesitated. Then she said quietly, yes. A few moments later, Chris walked in, alone. He stood beside her, awkward. Are you okay? He asked. Cynthia turned her head slightly to look at him. That question, so simple, so late. I'm fine, she replied. The machine beeped softly. The nurse moved the scanner gently across her stomach. A faint sound filled the room. The baby's heartbeat. Fast, alive, strong. Cynthia's eyes softened for the first time that day. There, the nurse smiled. Everything is perfect. Cynthia exhaled slowly. Chris leaned in slightly, listening. For a brief moment, everything felt normal, until the door opened. His mother stepped in, without knocking. Let me see, she said immediately, moving closer. The nurse paused. Ma'am, only one person is allowed. I am his mother, she replied calmly. The room shifted again. Chris looked at the nurse, then at his mother, and then he stepped aside. His mother leaned forward, watching the screen. This machine, is it accurate? She asked. The nurse blinked. Yes, very accurate. His mother nodded slowly, then turned to Cynthia. Good, because we cannot afford mistakes. That was it. That was the moment. Cynthia sat up slowly, ignoring the nurse's protests, ignoring the discomfort in her body, ignoring everything except the feeling rising inside her. Enough. The word came out low, but it didn't shake. The room went still. Chris turned. Cynthia? She looked at him, fully, directly, for the first time in a long time. I said enough. His mother frowned slightly. My dear, this is not the place to... No, Cynthia cut in, her voice still calm, but different now. This is exactly the place. The nurse stepped back quietly, sensing something. Cynthia swung her legs off the bed slowly. Pain flashed across her face, but she didn't stop. She stood, facing both of them now. I have been quiet, not because I don't have something to say, but because I kept hoping, she looked at Chris, that one day you would choose me. Silence. Chris swallowed. Cynthia, it's not like that. Then what is it like? She asked. What is this marriage like, Chris? Because from where I'm standing, she glanced briefly at her mother, then back at him. It looks like I'm just visiting. Her mother straightened slightly. This is disrespect. No, Cynthia said again, firm. This is clarity. Chris stepped forward. Let's talk about this at home. Cynthia shook her head slowly. No. She placed her hand gently on her stomach. This child, she paused. is not going to grow up watching me beg for space. The words landed, heavy, and for the first time, Chris had nothing to say. Chris stood there, staring at Cynthia like he was seeing her for the first time. Not the quiet woman in the back seat, not the patient wife who swallowed everything, but someone else, someone he didn't fully understand anymore. "Cynthia," he said softly, but she didn't respond. She adjusted her dress carefully, her movements slow but deliberate, like she was holding herself together from the inside. His mother was the first to recover. Of course she was. "This is exactly the problem," she said calmly, folding her arms. "Too much emotion, too much talk, no discipline." Cynthia didn't look at her, not this time, because for the first time, she had nothing left to prove. Chris stepped closer. "Let's not do this here," he said quietly. Cynthia finally looked at him again. "You're right," she said. "We shouldn't." She turned slightly towards the nurse. "Can I get dressed now?" The nurse nodded quickly. "Yes, of course." Chris hesitated. "Cynthia, I'll wait outside." "No," she said gently. That word again, but different this time. "I will come out when I'm ready." Chris stopped. Something about the way she said it left no space for argument. He nodded slowly, then turned and walked out. His mother followed him, but not before giving Cynthia one last look, as if silently saying, "This is not over." The door closed, and for the first time that day, Cynthia was alone. She exhaled slowly, her hands trembling slightly now that no one was watching. The nurse stepped closer. "Are you okay?" Cynthia gave a small nod. "I will be." Outside the room, Chris leaned against the wall, running his hand through his hair. His mother stood beside him, calm, unbothered. "She's becoming too emotional," she said flatly. Chris didn't respond immediately. "She's pregnant, Mom," he said finally. His mother looked at him. "And?" Chris blinked. "And it's a lot." His mother sighed lightly. "Chris, listen to yourself." She stepped closer, lowered her voice. "Do you want a peaceful home or a chaotic one?" Chris frowned slightly. "Because if you allow this kind of behavior now," she gestured towards the door, "it will only get worse." Chris looked at the floor. "And you know something? And you know something?" she added. He looked up. "A woman who talks too much eventually forgets her place." The words settled into him. Cynthia stepped out. She didn't look at her mother, not once. She walked straight to Chris, stopped in front of him. "We need to go home," she said calmly. Chris nodded. "Okay." His mother stepped forward. "I'll sit in the front." "No." The word landed like a stone in water. All three of them froze. Cynthia turned slowly, and for the first time, she looked directly at her. "I will sit in the front." Her mother's eyes narrowed slightly. "Excuse me?" Cynthia didn't raise her voice. "I said I will sit in the front." The air changed. Chris looked between them. His heart started to race. "Cynthia," he started, but she didn't look at him. "I am carrying his child," she said quietly, "and I deserve to sit beside my husband." His mother stepped forward slightly. "Chris, open the door for me." That tone, the same one, the one that had controlled him for years. And now it was waiting again for him to choose.